Hello, Chad. You're up first.
Hey Bart, how's it going today?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Good, good. Yeah, I got a hand here, 1-2 game at Casino Regina in Saskatchewan, Canada.
1-2, 1-2 in Saskatchewan, right?
Yes.
You've been to Saskatoon before? I think I asked you this, Chad, before.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that you took a train or something to Saskatoon, I think you said, which
I
is
did, I did way back
yeah,
when, yeah, like in the late 1980s. I took a cross country train trip to across Canada. It was beautiful. It was
yeah,
absolutely, it
yeah,
was
for
beautiful.
sure.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was great.
I'm in Regina, the capital
Yep.
city. It's 2.5 hours away from Saskatoon.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just speak up a little bit. All right, so 1-2. How deep are the stacks?
We're 715 effective with the main villain, and I was at the main table, so most people had around $400, which is the max buy-in.
Okay, so 715 effective, and it's a 400 max buy-in. Is that right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so we're nine-handed, and I'm under the gun. So I raised to $15, which is kind of my standard for this table. It plays a bit bigger than a normal one too.
Hmm.
I've got King of Spades, King of Hearts.
Okay. To 15.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the low jack, cutoff, button, and big blind all call.
Low jack, cutoff, button, and big blind call. I mean, typical live stuff, right?
Yep.
That's probably. I mean, the only thing I would say. I mean, hey, it's like a 7.5. You're opening to 7.5x. Is that the standard open? Because I always say, well, I commonly will get a question. It's like, well, how much should I raise it to like thin the field? And I always say pre-flop. With premium hands, I don't really look at it in that manner. I'm just look at it like, well, could I have raised more where these guys would call at a higher rate just to get more money in the pot? Now, if you're saying that 15 is, the average open size, sometimes I wonder, could you make it 20 and get, three callers instead of 15 times four? I guess that would be about the same amount. But I think you see where I'm going, right?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
and I do take your advice that way. So on Friday, I was raising to 25 because people were calling. But at this table, 15 sort of seemed to be the standard, and I kind of expected one or two callers at that dollar amount. So, but I
Hmm.
will increase it if I think I can get callers.
Okay. So you're going to go one, two, three, four. I mean, five ways, including you, right?
Yes, including me.
All
And
right.
so pot $69 right now.
I'm gonna put it at 70 with the drop. Okay.
Sure.
Yep.
So flop comes Queen of Spades, Nine of Spades, Eight of Hearts.
Queen of Spades, Nine of Spades, Eight of Hearts. So you have the King of Spades in your hand, and obviously this is not a, this is a straight out of small stakes exploit. And I'm sure, Chad, because I know you've been a subscriber for a long time, you know what I'm talking about here. One of the I think strongest or one of the most applicable small stakes exploits that you can make is actually betting as a continuation bet with like a value hand like yours on a board. You're doing more betting. I say you're doing more of a volume of betting on these types of boards at the low stakes, and that is because it's a function of people are calling with all kinds of offsuit broadways and they're calling with far too many hands, and they're not necessarily attacking the board. They're just sort of playing your own hand because like it's pretty rare. I mean, that you would ever see this like at a really high stakes tough game that you're going to have four or five callers, but I mean, it's totally reasonable to check here very, very multi-way on a board like this. But at your game, I would still be doing a lot of betting here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And I wasn't really sure because it was so multi-way. I know you always say, you can't bluff into so many people. But I mean, this is a value bet or protection bet. So I thought, well, I think I can bet. I wasn't sure if I should go one third or two thirds. So I ended
Mm-hmm.
up opting more on the two-third side and I bet $50.
Yeah, again, that sort of breaks the theory of multi-way again a little bit. If you are just totally sort of prepped to like kind of bet fold here, I can get on board. I mean, again, the sort of the theory goes that you want to take hands that you don't want to bet fold for value and sort of check them. And that's where the theory would come into here in this play. And it's a little along the same size too with a smaller bet size. The hands that you are going to bet, you want to continue. It's going to usually dictate a small raise size from your opponent. But
Yep.
with that being said, if you're in a situation where your opponents are basically always just raising two pair plus, or straight. If you want to bet fold and you want to go larger as a bet fold, I can get on board with it. So you bet 50.
Yeah, that was my idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because I find if I bet this amount and I get raised, I know I'm in big trouble and I can fold. Whereas if I bet small, like it seems to really induce some aggression, and then I kind of don't know exactly where I'm at. But that was my thinking at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily that you're in trouble. It's just when it kind of, again, I still think all queens and stuff are calling. You're sort of getting max value. It's a bread and
Hmm.
butter type of play. Like I said, it's a pretty large exploit where people are just calling with worse and they're not really raising until better.
Yeah,
It does play a little bit, I would say, easier. That doesn't necessarily mean better when you take some larger sizings with this approach, because the bluffing frequency or semi-bluffing frequency or overplay frequency gets decreased. So there's that. So
right.
okay, so you bet 50. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So on to the turn.
So
We
what
get
happens?
Oh, I'm
No
sorry.
problem.
I kind of missed a step. So only the big blind calls.
Okay, so fold, fold, fold. Big blind calls. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, the only thing, again, you just got to keep in the back of your mind here that the big blind obviously can be wider, and he might have some slow plays here that he maybe wouldn't have if he was in the field, just because he's closing the action, right? So he doesn't have to, you know, be scared of anything as opposed to like next to act. So you have to sort of keep that in mind. But I mean, still, I like this spot because I think you're getting a lot of queen X calls here, and hopefully you just see some nice like clean run out. So looks like it
Yeah.
is 170 here to the turn, right? 170.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
170.
Okay.
So turn is the three of hearts. So sort of a nice card, brings in a bit of a backdoor
Backdoor
flush draw.
heart draw. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Big blind checks.
Mm-hmm.
And I go ahead and keep betting. So I bet 125.
So Hero bets 125, which is now the 2/3 sizing. I'm going to take a look at my stack here. So if you make this call, the pot now is 420, and so it's right around 420, and you guys sort of have put in right around 200 of your stack. So it looks like you're going to have maybe 520, 525 left, with the pot being 420. So there's a couple of reasons here to possibly even go larger, just so you can possibly set up a larger river bet. And again, theory wise, a lot of sort of blank turns are reflected with a larger bet size. However, though, we're sort of off the theory, though, Chad, anyways, because of what we're doing on the flop. So, you know what I'm saying? Because again, he could be slow playing some stuff here. So I can definitely get on board with it. I'm always trying to get max. I'm trying to get the most amount. So I would put it this way: I like your 2/3 here more than 1/3. And I'm assuming if this guy check raises you here on turn, you're just like basically snap folding here, right?
Yeah, I think I'm just done at that point in time.
Yeah. Okay.
I want it low enough that I can get some gut shots to call as well, maybe.
Yeah. So 125 and
He calls.
big blind calls again. And now
Yep.
we are at right around 420.
420.
And yeah, and you guys, like I said, have, probably like 525 left. Okay, let's hope for a clean river here.
Let's hope so. So we end up getting the three of diamonds.
Okay, so the only thing, so what I was going to say too is that what I would be looking here too, again, the board is queen of spades, nine of spades, eight of hearts, three of hearts. And as you had said too, I would be keenly aware of hearts coming in at the end.
Yes.
With the flop distribution of someone having queen X of hearts, nine X of hearts, straight draws with hearts. So you want to dodge that. And now this is a pretty big brick with the only little caveat, it's a small caveat that, if someone had like ace three of spades or something like that, some 3X of spades hands runs into trips, but that's a very, very small portion of, big blinds, I think, range here. He's got a lot, especially if he's closing the action. I mean, he could be calling with any suited queen here pre, right? Thinking he's getting a price.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
offsuit Broadway is like queen 10, queen jack. So that's a very, very small consideration. Plus, if he checks to you, that even cuts out more of a chance that he has a three. I'm not saying he's always going to bet, but this card would not scare me here at all.
No, I was very happy with it. In fact, I thought it's good because if he ended up flopping two pair, then it sort of counterfeits him.
Sure,
So
like an 8-9 or something that he was sort of
yeah,
playing slow.
exactly.
Mhm.
So I really like this card actually, and I thought
Yeah.
there were a whole lot of threes in his range.
Yeah.
It's open. He only had $2 in there, so
Yeah.
He did check to me.
So he checks. So this is where, a little bit of live experience comes into play as well. So remember, this is different when we're trying to think about sizing here. We kind of want to think about some things, but I think these are the most important things I would say to point out is that it's so because this guy is not in the field, okay, he actually can have more top pair here of the weaker variety, like I talked about. And of course, you unblock top pair, like I think any sort of queen X suited that you probably wouldn't see represented in the field. Queen 5, queen 4, queen deuce suited, things like that, right? Because if you're getting call in the field, especially from like next act, then the guy probably has like, queen jack, queen 10, ace queen, if you're ahead. So there is that. And then the question though is that, so if he ends up with more queens here than he would in the field, like weak queens, does that sort of demand that we don't go as large as we would have if he had called in the field? Because if somebody calls in the field and they've got like queen jack, king queen, ace queen, even though it's sort of the same sort of caliber of hand that they would be bluff catching against you, people might say, seem to think it's stronger than like queen 4, right? You know what I mean? Something like that. So there is that. Honestly, here's the thing. I don't know the answer, and I'll point to you guys too in the chat because I haven't played 1-2 for a long time. But I do have a lot of experience playing low stakes that even when I was playing Commerce at 5-10, if a guy got here with a queen, like a suited queen, say queen 5 or something like that, even if you used all-in sizing here or close to all-in sizing, I would still be surprised if he folded. Like, I still think you're still going to get a lot of calls just from top pair. And again, that is a function of, even though the board is paired, that so many people just check back in your position with one pair types hands in your player pool that a lot of players counter that by calling down a lot because they think somebody in your spot is polarized, even though they don't know what polarized means. This is much more prevalent if the board did not pair. Like if it was a deuce at the end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would still though tend to think that he's called twice. I hope he has a queen and I might just go for it. Now, maybe not all in, but close to pot here. Close to pot.
Yeah, so that's sort of what I did. I wanted to make a big bet, but not totally scare him away. So I bet 350 into 420.
Okay.
And so I only left myself 175 behind, which, is kind of dumb, but it's a bit, it's a bit exploitative, I guess. But I just figured if I went all in, it might scare him too much.
Right. And of course, the math on this is, say you just had 500 left just to make it easy math, right? Let's say you moved all in and you got called 50% of the time. The EV on that is what, 250. But let's say that you always had the best hand here. The EV on that's $250, right? If you get called 50% of the time.
Yeah.
And if you bet 350 and get called, 80% of the time, the EV on that is like 280, right?
Right.
So 75% of the time. So that's sort of what we're thinking. I mean, I'm glad you went large. It's just a question of like how large. What's crazy is that, I mean, not that you're ever really going to see this. It's interesting if you check jams. That would suck because you're going to get like insane pot odds. But
that crossed my mind because I'd need like 16% or something to call, and I was thinking like, oh, what would I do if that happened? And I'd certainly consider folding.
You'd be getting like close to 10-1, yeah. But I doubt that's going to happen. So you go 350.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did not happen. Mm-hmm. So Big Blind tanked forever, like 4 or 5 minutes, and even apologized to the table for taking so long. So I was like, oh, great, like perfect, I'm going to win for sure. And then finally, he just calls with 3 of spades, 4 of spades.
Oh.
So runner trips.
Yeah, that's the hand. I mean, here's the thing. But I mean, again, like I said, that's such a small portion of his range. If we think that from your sizing, he's always going to call with a queen, and he arrives here with like, 90% of the time with queens and 10%, it's probably even, I mean, if you count the combos, if you go all the way down to queen little suited, it's probably even more, like say he's got 10 times more queens here than threes, then your play is still right. it's just like it's kind of like variance, right? It's like a variance that people don't really look at because a lot of people don't do
Yeah,
value bet
yeah.
anymore.
I think it's certainly good enough to value bet anyway.
Yeah, I mean, how many 3x of spades combos are there? I mean, there's only ace three. Even if he's playing like 6-3 suited and deuce three suited, I mean, there's only what is that? One, two, three, four, maybe five. And how many queens are there? Shit ton. You unblock a queen.
Mhm.
I mean, there's 12 combos of each of the queens, right? Of like queen jack. You're unblocking it. So,
Yep.
like, there would be more of a case for you, and I would still value bet ace queen, but your hand is even a much cleaner bet. Unblocking a queen and also blocking some of the draws that missed too, right? Like, because you got the king of spades. So it even leans
Right.
him more towards having a queen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of one of those ones. But
yeah.
uh, I'm curious too. So it seems like you're good with the bet on the river. If
Oh,
he does,
absolutely.
what do you
Absolutely.
do, Bart?
If he checked jam for 175 more, I mean,
Yeah.
what would the pot be? 11? It would be like 1300, 175 for you to call. I mean, at that point, if it doesn't make sense, I'm not folding for
Yeah.
175 more. I've just
Yeah.
seen a lot of wacky shit. But Chad, as always, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the call, sir.